In Gaza, aid convoys continue to enter the war-battered enclave under a fragile ceasefire agreement. But as humanitarian deliveries increase, both Israel and Hamas accuse each other of violating truce terms, casting uncertainty over whether the recent calm can hold. On October 11th, aid trucks were seen moving through Khan Younis in southern Gaza. Witnesses said the convoys had already reached Rafah earlier, but were waiting for clearance to move further north. Under the ceasefire deal, humanitarian aid is supposed to travel freely between northern and southern Gaza via two main roads. Crowds of Palestinians surrounded the trucks, trying to collect boxes of food and water. Scenes quickly turned chaotic as residents pushed to reach supplies, with some expressing frustration at the lack of organized distribution.
أنا رحت على دار لقيت في شحنيات حودت رميت أغراض وقلت بدي راح أجيب لأولادي بس هذا مش طريقة نفسنا إنه تروح على طريق المناديب بكون أحسن عشان ناس بتاخد وناس بتاخدش.
Others urged that international agencies like UNRWA should take over the process to ensure fairness.
المساعدات هذه يا ريت تيجي بشيء رسمي تسلم لناس، يعني انا ما بقدرش يعني انا بنفرم تحت العجل، فلا انا بتمنى الدول اللي برا يعني تسلمها لناس من هنا اللي هي الوكاله تستلمهن ويوزع علينا زي قبل ما كنا نستلم.
A United Nations vehicle was later seen patrolling the same streets, monitoring the situation. A day later, on October 12th, dozens of aid trucks crossed into Gaza from the Kerem Shalom border with Israel. Israel temporarily reopened the crossing as part of the truce arrangement. At the same time, convoys from Egypt's Rafah border were also seen heading toward Gaza, carrying essential food, fuel, and medical supplies. In Khan Younis, residents again crowded the aid trucks. Some climbed onto the moving vehicles, while others ran alongside them, carrying boxes of flour, rice, and bottled water. The scramble reflected growing desperation among civilians who have endured years of conflict and economic isolation.
مش حل، احنا لازم نشوف لنا حل احسن من هيك. هو الحمد لله توفر الشيء وبناخذ ورخص الحاجه، بس برضه شوفوا لنا حل احسن من الاول، يشوفوا لنا حل احسن من هيك. بدنا نعيش يعني يصير الناس كلها تاخذ، في ناس بتاخذش، يعني انا باخذ صح، في ناس بتاخذش، انا بقدر الحمد لله، بس في ناس بتاخذش، يعني في ناس بتاخذش يعني واقفه. لازم نشوف لنا حل برضه، لازم يكون الشحنه التامين، يامنوا الشحنات.
A convoy of trucks continued through Khan Younis later that day, while UN vehicles escorted aid teams into distribution zones. In Gaza City, clean water access was slowly being restored. On October 12th, UNICEF and the Palestinian Water Authority reassembled a desalination plant that had been moved south during the heaviest bombardment.
This is a desalination plant. They took some of the equipment to the south when Gaza City was under heavy bombardment and there were evacuation orders. They were trying to protect it. But now, today, they're bringing it back to re-establish the plant and provide clean, safe drinking water to the people of Gaza City with UNICEF support.
Water trucks soon began refilling tanks and distributing supplies to residents who had been relying on unsafe sources for months. But optimism was short-lived. By October 14th, Israel announced it would allow only half the agreed number of trucks into Gaza. As per reports, the number would be limited to 300 daily, citing delays in Hamas returning the bodies of hostages. Israel's military agency, Kogat, blamed Hamas for the slowdown and said no fuel or gas would be allowed into the enclave except for critical humanitarian use. Hamas countered that locating bodies amid destroyed areas was difficult and accused Israel of politicizing aid. At the United Nations, OCHA spokesperson Olga Cherevko urged both sides to uphold the ceasefire and maintain open crossings.
We certainly very much hope that the bodies of the hostages are handed over and that the ceasefire continues to be implemented. In terms of the crossings, they are, we can confirm that today they were closed, but we continue to pick up because it's not every day that when things come in, everything is collected immediately. So we continue to collect what is there, and we will continue to do so and then bring in more.
By October 16th, fuel and aid trucks were again lined up at the Rafah crossing on the Egyptian side. Satellite imagery showed dozens of vehicles waiting to move into southern Gaza, coordinated by Israel and Egypt to ensure safe passage. The reopening came after Hamas handed over more hostage remains, easing tensions that had threatened to collapse the fragile truce. Kogat said work was underway to reopen Rafah not just for aid, but also for limited civilian movement, a key demand from humanitarian agencies. Aid deliveries briefly stopped again on October 19th after Israel accused Hamas of a blatant ceasefire violation. But US pressure reportedly led to the resumption of supplies on October the 20th. By October 21st, trucks carrying food and medical aid were once again seen passing through Deir al-Balah, while residents lined up to receive boxes. Speaking in Geneva on October 23rd, the World Health Organization warned that although aid deliveries had increased, they were still far below the required levels to meet Gaza's humanitarian needs.
There is increase in amount after the ceasefire, but what is entering Gaza is significantly below the required target. Significantly below the required target. And that also can explain can be an answer to the second question. Is there a dent in hunger level? So if the aid that's entering Gaza is significantly low, it cannot dent the hunger level. And the situation still remains catastrophic because what's entering is not enough.
Weeks into the ceasefire, Gaza's fragile calm is marked by long queues, limited aid, and a growing struggle to rebuild essential infrastructure. For residents, the question remains whether the truce will last long enough for real recovery to begin.
Network 18 is now the clear leader in digital media, with 55% more users on native platforms and social media than Times Internet. Network 18, the undisputed leader of news networks, way ahead of the times.